Hello, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to review an alternative way to accumulating values based on some condition. Here I have opened another dataset that I downloaded from Kaggle. It's the synthetic fraud dataset. And we have transactions, and we have their amounts, their merchant category, their type, and if or not the transaction has been tagged as fraudulent. And those of you who already have some intermediate or advanced Excel knowledge, you already know that Excel has functions like SUMIF and COUNTIF that allows us to count or some values based on some condition. So as a very basic example, if I want to check what is the total amount where the merchant category is travel and the transaction is tagged as fraudulent, then I can use the function SUMIFs because these are multiple criteria. And the sum range will be what I have in column C. And then the criteria range 1 will be what I have in column E. And its criteria will be travel. And then I will also have another criteria range where the criteria will be 1. And Excel returns 189,000. The problem with these functions, COUNTIFs and SUMIFs, is that sometimes when we work with large data sets, let's say 2, 3, 400,000 rows, they tend to be slow. So today we're going to do these calculations entirely in memory. And we're only going to check how to get the total amount. So it's going to be the same example, how to get the total amount per merchant category where the transactions have been tagged as fraudulent. So let's go to the Visual Basic Editor, and I'm going to insert a module and start writing a subroutine, which I will call sum with dictionary, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to use a VBA dictionary in order to store those values. Now, if you're just starting with dictionaries and you're not familiar with those, it's going to be a beginner-friendly tutorial. A dictionary is a data structure that allows us to store key value pairs. And I don't want to make this tutorial like very technical, so I'm not gonna go into very technical concepts. But for now, let's just say that in order to use dictionary in VBA, what we need to do first is go to Tools, and then References. And in this long list of available libraries, we need to find the Microsoft Scripting Runtime Library. Luckily, they are all sorted in alphabetical order. So now I can just click here and click OK. And now in order to declare a variable which will store that dictionary, I can write dim, which I will call SUMDict as scripting.dictionary. And since this is an object, I can use set to declare this to be equal to new scripting.dictionary. And now if I as an example, if I want to add one key value pair to that dictionary, I can simply write SUMDict.add, and let's say I would like to add travel, and its value will be, let's say, 5,000. Now just to check that it works, I can write debug.print and check what is the value for that key. I can simply paste the key here or type in the key of that same dict. And if I now click run, we see here in the immediate window that we have 5,000. It's important here to mention that the keys in a dictionary must be unique. Now, if I try to add again the same key, and let's say this time I its items gonna be, let's say, 10,000. Now when I click run, this will result in a runtime error. And it says that this key is already associated. So before adding a key in a dictionary in VBA, it makes sense first to check and verify that that key doesn't exist. And for this, there is a method called exist. So I can write something like, if not SUMDICT that exists, and here, let's say I add travel, then end if, and this is where I'm gonna add like travel. Else, now I will have to increment it, because let's say first it was 5,000, now I want to add another 10,000 to it or something like that. This is where I'll write something like then SUMDICT of travel will be SUMDICT of travel, and to it this will have to add some value, let's say 80,000, whatever. So this will be the structure once we start adding key value pairs in our dictionary. So I'm going to remove this now, and obviously in order to calculate our example here, and I mentioned that the exercise will be to get the total amount per merchant category where the transactions have been tagged as fraudulent. So we will have to loop through the rows, and I think we've done this many times already. And let's quickly declare a few variables. First, I'd like to declare the variable for the worksheet, although it's only one. And this will be set and will be equal to this workbook.worksheets synthetic fraud dataset. Hopefully I haven't mistyped it. And then I'll need two more variables for now, one for the last row and one as a counter in the loop. And the last row will be cells rows.count and excel up.row. And now I can write a loop. And since I don't want to calculate all those values, all those transactions where the value in the last column is 0, then I'm going to write if not data.ws.cells on row I and column. I will hard code in this example, although I know it's not a good practice, but that's not the purpose of this video. So I think column J is the 10th column. So here, if this value if it's not 1, then I'd like to go to the next iteration. And here, just before the end of the loop, next iteration column. Afterwards, I will probably declare a few more variables, one to store the key for the merchant category and one for its value or for its amount. And here I can write dim key as string and amount. The amount must be of data type double because, as you can see here, we have decimal numbers. So here the key will be what we have on row I and column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dot value, and amount will be again on row I and column C, which is with index 3, dot value. So now we need to start adding these key amount pairs in the dictionary, but as I mentioned earlier, we need first to ensure that they do not exist there already. So if not SUMDICT dot exists key, then and if it doesn't exist, we're going to add it. So SUMDICT dot add, we're adding key, and the item will be amount. Else, if that key already exists in the dictionary, we're simply going to increment it. We're not going to add it again. So SUMDICT of key will be SUMDICT of key plus amount. And now if I write here stop after the loop, and maybe let's maximize the Visual Basic editor. And if I click run, here in the locals window, we can see that we have our SUMDICT variable, and it contains 5 keys. And now the only thing we need to do is to present that data somewhere, because obviously we will not expect that the user will run it and check it in the immediate window or something like that. So for this, I'll probably create a new subroutine because this one is already a bit long. So here, I'll write a new subroutine, which I will call maybe show data. And we will have to pass this dictionary to this subroutine. So here I will write maybe dict, and it's going to be of type object. Although I don't need to even pass the type here. I can just write dict. And here after the loop, I will pass this dictionary to the show data subroutine, which I will write right now. So this SUMDICT. And what I would like to do is to add a new worksheet, set headers, and show the values there. So let's do this. I'm gonna declare a variable which I will call new worksheet as worksheet. And then I will set it to this workbook.worksheets.add. Now let's also set headers here. And I think I will only need 2 headers. So the first one will be in cell A1, which will be merchant category. And then the other header will be in cell B1, which is row 1 and column 2. And this is gonna be total amount. And now what we need to do is to loop through all keys in that dictionary. So for this, I'm going to declare a variable k as variant. And I can write for each k in dict.keys next k. And in order to paste the values, I need to know the next available row. So before this, let's declare another variable which I will call next row as long. And the next row will be in that new worksheet .rows.count 1 and Excel up. It's important to type it properly. .row, and I can directly add 1 here. And here I can write that new worksheet that cells on row next row and column 1 will be K, and new worksheet that cells on next row, and column 2 or column B will be dict and key. And afterwards I need to increment this. Alright, so let's run this subroutine some with dictionary and see what's going to happen. If I haven't messed something, it will. We already saw that it has populated the dictionary correctly. And if I haven't messed this subroutine, then I expect that it will add a new worksheet. And we will have 2 headers there. And I expect to have 5 additional rows. I believe there were 5. Let's see here how many categories we have. But yeah, we should have 5 rows there with their respective total amount only for those rows where is fraud is equal to 1. So let's see what's going to happen. I'm going to click run here. And it seems to be working. Maybe I can verify one of those amounts. Maybe for clothing, it is expected to be 167,000. So for this, I can use the filters quickly and filter here on clothing and filter only those rows where this fraud is 1. And let's see here what is the number here in the sum in the status bar. I think it's exactly the same, 167,000. And maybe as a last step, what we can do also is to sort the data here based on the total amount in a descending order. So let's do this because this is very easy. And here after we have pasted all values, all we need to do is write new worksheet dot cells, new worksheet dot used range dot sort. Key 1 will be column B. So on row 1 and column 2, order 1, we want to be in a descending order. And finally, we need to specify that we do have header. And if I delete this worksheet now, notice how it's not sorted, but I will delete this worksheet now manually. And run the process again, and this time I expect that the data will be sorted. And yeah, it seems that the data is indeed sorted, and maybe I should zoom on a little bit just to ensure this. So this is an example with using dictionary to sum values based on condition. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, make sure to drop those in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.